Israel is intensifying its retaliation in Gaza, targeting Hamas just days after Hamas militants launched a surprise attack along the Gaza Strip that killed hundreds. Hello and welcome. You're watching Temple Update. I'm Melissa Clausel.
And I'm Taylor Hess. Here are the latest updates from overnight. Airstrikes continue overseas on the fifth day of the Israel-Hamas war. Israel Defense Forces announced overnight that they are launching an extensive attack on Hamas territory within the Gaza Strip. This morning, Israeli Air Forces conducted a wave of strikes targeting Nukba elite forces within Hamas command centers. Israel is now preparing a ground invasion on the border of Gaza. The war has claimed more than 2,300 lives on both sides. As of this morning, Secretary of State Antony Blinken has confirmed at least 25 Americans are dead in Israel. 17 Americans have been reported missing, including an unknown number of Americans still being held hostage. Blinken also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this morning in Tel Aviv.
Here in the U.S., President Biden spoke out against the attacks in Israel, reiterating the United States' support for their ally and condemning the attacks by the Hamas militant group.
We stand with Israel, and we will make sure Israel has what it needs to take care of its citizens, defend itself, and respond to this attack.
The ongoing war overseas has prompted demonstrations, vigils, and ceremonies across the U.S. Temple Update spoke with students trying to process the loss and destruction both in Israel and Gaza. Rallies have broken out in cities like New York as demonstrators in support of Palestinians take to the streets, recognizing thousands of civilians killed. In Times Square, pro-Israel supporters gathered. And here on campus, students attended a ceremony at the Bell Tower in support of Israel.
It can be depressing to just go over the victims and be mourning them, but I think it's also nice to have that sense of community and know that you're not alone.
Hani Wyman is the student president of Hillel Temple, the organization that has played a key part in offering support amid the war.
People tend to polarize what's going on, and it's one side versus the other, but I think that the way that majority of people feel is we're saddened for the families of the victims and for the Middle East as a whole and everyone who's affected.
Erez Yarden is a student originally from the Tel Aviv area. He says he hasn't slept much, checking updates constantly.
I've been following along, waiting to see if I recognize the name, which I haven't so far, which is, I guess, somewhat good, but doesn't really help knowing that these people are dead anyways.
The organization Temple Students for Justice in Palestine released a statement in regards to the ongoing war between Hamas and Israel, saying, "We believe that the Palestinian people have the right to stand up for their freedom and resist oppression. The occupation persists, and our freedom of our people cannot be achieved without a revolution." The statement was signed and endorsed by multiple student organizations across the nation.
Temple University Associate Professor of Political Science Sean Yom specializes in regimes and governance in the Middle East. Professor Yom says that the conflict is going to worsen before we see an end.
The reason it's going to get worse before it gets better is that in retaliation to Hamas's terrorism, the Israeli government has essentially declared total war on the Palestinians of Gaza, meaning those 2 million Palestinians living in this compacted, sealed territory, cut off from the outside world, from the rest of Israel, as well as from Egypt, for which they share a single border crossing for, who are now subjected to daily bombardments, even hourly bombardments.
An estimated 950 people are dead, with 3,300 people displaced in Gaza since Israel began retaliations last week.
Again, this war is still ongoing, but stick with Temple Update as we give you the latest updates on the continuing conflict overseas.
Republicans have delayed a full House vote for a new speaker. A slim majority of Republicans voted for Steve Scalise, but he does not yet have the 217 votes he needs to be elected speaker. The House voted to remove Representative Kevin McCarthy from the position last week. Scalise said it is time for the House to focus on government funds and aid for Israel.
The conversations we've been having with my colleagues over the last few days leading up to this show that there's a resolve, that we need to get back to work. There's a lot of business to take care of.
Republican George Santos is facing 10 new charges as part of a 23-count superseding indictment filed by federal prosecutors this week. The freshman congressman has been charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, false statements, and identity theft. Santos denies these charges but is set to appear in court October 27th. Temple's Association of University Professionals has started negotiating a new contract with their current one expiring this Sunday.
Temple Update's Brianna Fallon is live on Paulette Walk to give us the latest on the negotiations and how TAUP is rallying for higher wages. Brianna?
That's right. The TAUP negotiations have sparked conversations across campus. Hundreds of people gathered right here on Paulette Walk on Tuesday in support of the union.
When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
With their contract expiring in less than 3 days, Temple's Association of University Professionals held a rally to demand support from the Board of Trustees in giving them a fair new contract.
We're hoping that there's more equity in this contract. We're hoping that there's job security for contingent faculty.
Negotiations are underway. TAUP is demanding 15 sick days per year, comprehensive additions to the non-discrimination language, enrollment in Septic Key Advantage, and more.
Basically, the basic rights that every worker should have.
Who are we? TAUP!
TAUP is also asking for a pay increase, higher than what administration already proposed. TAUP President Jeffrey Dashna says the 1% increase is unacceptable.
Their initial proposal to union members in 1199C who were here today was an insult. It was a 1% wage increase, and inflation is at 8-9%.
According to Dashna, TAUP has made around 30 proposals and plan to give another dozen next week.
I think that Temple has the ability to meet the demands that we're making around job security and equity.
For TAUP, this rally signifies their commitment to fight for these demands in a fair contract.
When we all stand together, we have power.
In the end, both administration and TAUP have one common goal.
Our goal is to reach an agreement without any sort of work stoppage and to reach an agreement that both sides feel good about.
Now, their contract does end this Sunday. However, that does not mean that negotiations are completely off the table. Both TAUP and Temple administration have set aside several dates from now until December where they plan to sit down until a final agreement is met. Live on Paulette Walk, reporting for Temple Update, I'm Brianna Fallon, sending it back to the studio.
Students gathered on campus to watch the Phillies take on the Braves in Game 3 of the National League Division Series, with their big 10-2 win over Atlanta. One of the watch parties on campus took place at Maxie's, with the Phillies fever high as ever.
I'll tell you what, the Phillies are now just one win away from clinching a spot in the championship series.
Well, let's head over to Victoria LaPrince at the Sports Desk with the latest on the postseason updates.
That's right, Taylor and Alyssa. After an incredible win, the Phillies moved even closer to that World Series return they've been fighting for. Ava Hedges is live at Citizens Bank Park with more on how last night's game went down.
That's right, Victoria. Fans are ecstatic to see their Red October hopes and dreams come to life after the Phillies' triumph at the Braves last night. Last night in Game 3 of the National League Division Series, they won 10-2 after losing to the Braves on Monday night. Phillies right fielder Nick Castellanos was right when he said, "We thrive when we get punched in the face, man." The Phils lost 5-4 in Game 2, but came back with the 6 home runs last night, a franchise playoff record. All eyes were on Bryce Harper, and he did not disappoint. He hit 2 home runs during last night's game. That's all I have for you right now, but I'll be back later with more information about the game tonight. Back to you, Victoria.
Thanks, Ava. I'll have more information at the Sports Desk on the continuing Red October excitement in just a bit. Taylor and Alyssa, back to you.
Thanks, Victoria. Temple's annual Homecoming and Family Weekend had festivities spanning across campus and South Philadelphia. Temple's Tailgate Village featured alumni-owned sellers selling food, drinks, and apparel, and stands for each individual school and Temple alumni and students. The Owls faced off against the University of Tulsa in the homecoming football game, where students saw the Diamond Marching Band celebrate the cherry and the white. Alumni were excited to return to the nest.
This is my first homecoming game as a Temple alum. I'm so glad to be back and reuniting with all my friends.
The Owls may not have won the game, but Temple school spirit was still on display the whole weekend.
You know, it was chilly last weekend and it's starting to feel like fall outside.
Unfortunately, yes it is. Let's connect with Temple Update's Kevin Gruen live outside Leocoris Walk to give us a glimpse of what we can expect for today. Kevin?
Thanks, Taylor and Alyssa. Right now, I'm at O'Connor Plaza, and we have a beautiful start to our day with some sunny skies and some cool temperatures. Students are definitely out and about on campus right now, making the most of these nice weathers. Now, we can expect this nice weather to continue today, but we can expect these temperatures to cool down a little bit as some winds from the north will settle in, taking temperatures down to the 50s and 60s over the weekend. And yes, this October is definitely starting off warm and sunny, as students have been enjoying this nice weather this whole week. Now, we can expect some nice weather this coming night for the Phillies game, so make sure to dress nice and enjoy the nice weather, and go Phils. Taylor, Alyssa, sending it back to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Coming up on Temple Update.
We will go back to Citizens Bank Park for a playoff update.
It's all hands on deck in South Philadelphia. I'm Aiden Cuck, and I'll be showing you how employees at Citizens Bank Park are gearing up for Red October.
Temple students are concerned about their cars after the increase in break-ins.
And Victoria LaPrince is at the sports desk with more on the men's soccer victory over one of the nation's top teams.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.